And so I was surprised how much structure there was going into it. So that's kind of my first insight or like exposure to it, was just this how-to guide from Sugar Lifestyle Forum, which is very thorough. But then I like discovered you all and listened to the podcast, and I was like, okay, there's a lot more depth here than just guidelines, right?
Welcome to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Here's your host, Marcus.
Welcome to another episode of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, the #1 sugar dating podcast in the world, where we pull back the curtains on the good and the bad. And Lily,
the research data.
The research data.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
No, the shocking.
The shocking research data.
The shocking stories
Do you
of
say
sugar
data
dating.
or data?
I think it's either way.
Or daddy?
Potato.
Research daddy.
Yeah. So we do have a guest, but I did want to talk for just a second with Lily. Are you recovered yet from our big party?
I mean, I've just been really hydrating.
Did you get a little bit tipsy?
Not one time.
No, not at all. I heard your voice go up an octave, so I know you're lying.
When was I not tipsy?
Yeah. Overall, how do you feel like it went?
It was a great success. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
It went better than I expected.
Me too.
Actually, Friday night was a big surprise to me.
Oh, yeah. It really
didn't-
was.
We just were going to casually have drinks and get to know each other, and it turned into a big ball. Dress up, go out, meet everybody.
It was a festival.
In a fancy suite at the W.
It was so fun.
We had some sugar daddies, got some really nice suites, and we congregated there. One of them had like a pool table, and it had a big
massive
patio,
balcony overlooking the city.
and the weather was beautiful, as we expected.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was perfect weather.
And then everybody got along so well. And we're going to bring this up because I have a guest today, and I am really excited to talk to her. And I think this party
Me too. I'm so curious.
is going to tie in to a lot of the research that she's been doing.
Yeah,
And
maybe
some
she'll
of
get
the
some.
things that we have discovered and that we're not surprised about now is how well everybody got along.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
she'll get some more information for her research.
Anyway, welcome to our. You guys have heard us advertise this over and over now for a couple years. Like we did it last year, and then we resumed it again this year. And you guys have participated, from what I understand, in good fashion, and you've helped us out. And we want to welcome Maria Scaptura from the University of Arkansas.
Hi, everybody.
How are you?
I'm good. A little bit of a cold, so a little bit.
You know, it's going around. Lily was fighting it for a while. I felt it coming on during the party. You know what I did?
You got all hopped up on the vitamin C.
Yeah, I started.
zinc.
I started doing like 5 packets of Emergency a day, and then I did those zinc lozenges, like
Yeah.
those whatever they call those, right? And you let them dissolve on your tongue, and then you can't really drink anything for about 15 minutes. And you
Right.
do about 4 or 5 or 6 of those a day. And I'm telling you, I had lost my voice Saturday morning, and I'm like, oh shit, here it comes. I'm getting sick. And I could feel it. I could feel the chills. I made it through the whole party, the whole weekend, and I still feel pretty good.
That's the trick, the zinc, I guess.
Yeah.
I need
So
to-
that was just my personal experience.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to you. You contacted us last year because you were doing a PhD research paper or something like that. You can get the exact thing filled in with us. And so we advertised for you last year, and you were at Virginia Tech, and then you moved over to University of Arkansas, and we picked it up again. First of all, how's the response been?
Oh, it's been amazing. That was kind of the thing I was thinking about going into the interview, and I was like, I think the most shocking thing is how excited and like receptive everyone has been to like just participate and tell me about sugar dating. You know, I expected going into the research that it would be like a lot of people would be very standoffish, that it's like such a closed community that like people wouldn't want to talk to a researcher. but it's been the total opposite experience. Like everybody's more than excited to share their experiences with me. It's been great.
Okay, let's go to the beginning.
Sure.
Why? Why did you choose this subject?
That's always the $1,000,000
Yeah,
question.
what was going through your head when you're like, I need to
Yeah.
do something for my PhD program?
So I spend time on Reddit, as you do, and I saw Sugar Lifestyle Forum pop up a few times, and I was like, I haven't really seen anything about this. I started looking into sugar dating, reading some of the posts and how people talked about sugar dating, but also kind of looked into it on the academic side to see what's been published about it, and really nothing. Like there's maybe a couple articles out of Sweden on sugar dating, and those are great pieces by Gunnarsson and Strid if anyone's curious, but nothing in the US. And anything I did find was very much like, okay, how is this like sex work? Like, how can we prosecute this? And it disturbed me. And I was like, okay, let's move past this kind of narrative around just like strictly how does this fit within sex work and actually talk to people about their experiences. And I was just very curious why people chose sugar dating over traditional or vanilla dating in particular. So that's kind of what drove a lot of my research question, was like, why this? So yeah, that was kind of the starting point.
And how would you categorize the nature of your research? Like, what is your focus?
Oh, yeah. So I do a lot of gender research. I do a lot of work on men and masculinities. So I kind of took a gender perspective and almost an aging perspective when I started analyzing everything. Was like this kind of inherent age gap we see in sugar dating, or often attribute to sugar dating. And so I was kind of curious how this played out for men, for daddies, for babies. And yeah, that's kind of what I took from it. Like sociology is very much a study of society, very broadly speaking. So kind of narrowing it down, focusing on just how we can explain this sociologically, why people are drawn to this type of dating in particular.
Now, how are you structuring this? Like,
The
yeah,
research?
so you've decided to do research on sugar dating. You're compiling data. How are you structuring it to present it? I don't even know what you're really doing with this data.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So I take handwritten notes. So that's kind of my data, is just I talk to people over the phone, maybe Zoom, handwrite notes, scan them, store them separately from my like computer. So it's all like protected data. That's kind of my data, is just these handwritten notes through these conversations. And there's a lot of data here, like talking to people. I've uncovered so many different experiences, but also so much that we talk about and people share about their experiences in sugar dating. So I have a lot of different avenues to really take it. Like I said, I'm a gender scholar, so I kind of am very curious about the gender dynamics going on. But like, there's so many different avenues to take it, like so many different threads to really pull from. That's kind of been the challenge at the moment, is like I'm sitting on this pile of data and I'm like, okay, where do I even start? Like there's so much to play with here. So
Yeah, how
that's
do
kind
you
of
organize it? How do you present it? Is this for
exactly.
like doctoral thesis or something?
Yeah, so when I started it a year ago at Virginia Tech, I was earning my PhD. So I was doing my dissertation, writing up a big honkin' long paper on sugar dating, and finished that in spring. So I got my doctorate, graduated, and then started at the University of Arkansas this past fall. So now actually have a job, which is lovely. I'm loving that salary.
You did it for your dissertation, but
Right.
you're
Sorry.
continuing to research it.
Yes.
So now what do
Yes.
you intend to do with this wealth of data?
I want to publish it. Like I did about 23, 25 interviews for my dissertation. And I was like, this isn't enough. Like I want to talk to more people. I want to get more data, because that wasn't really enough data. And so I really wanted to talk to more people. The goal is really to turn it around and publish it in academic journals. But beyond that, because that's still very like insular, right? Like not many people are looking at academic journals, right? So hopefully kind of disseminate this beyond just academics and get to like publications, talk to people about what sugar dating really is. Hopefully. hopefully that's my goal.
So, have you ever dipped your toe in the sugar bowl?
That was my very next question. You pulled it
I
right
get that
from me.
question. No, I haven't. It just was something I ran across and then just kind of came into it as like an outsider. And so that's been kind of interesting as well as like talking to people and they're like, but do you actually do sugar dating? And I'm
Right.
like, no.
So what
No, I
what
don't.
did you think you were going to find?
That's a good question.
Because you didn't know anything about it.
I mean,
What
yeah,
was your
I had, like,
initial perception of sugar dating before you talked to anybody
Right.
or started doing research?
I think it was just very much the colloquial, like, oh yeah, just get my sugar daddy to pay for it. That very like surface level,
Sure.
oh, I'm shopping on my daddy's credit card kind of idea. And I didn't really like think much of it. And so like when I started researching it a little more, like looking at the subreddit, it interested me how many like rules and like I don't know if rules is the right word, but like guidelines there were to like, okay, you like reach out, don't use your real name maybe, and like don't give them your address, but like set up the meet and greet in a public place and kind of all of these guidelines to go into it. And so I was surprised how much structure there was going into it. So that's kind of my first insight or like exposure to it, was just this how-to guide from Sugar Lifestyle Forum, which is very thorough. But then I like discovered you all and listened to the podcast and I was like, okay, there's a lot more depth here than just guidelines, right? And it kind of just unraveled from there, where I was just like, okay, like didn't really know what to expect. I really kind of went into it with like terminology and, this idea of like this distinction from sex work. But beyond that, I wasn't really sure what I would find. I was just kind of flying blind a little bit.
Did you discover anything that you were really shocked by or found disturbing?
Nothing disturbing, which I think might be a relief to some people, as they think they're going to shock me. And I'm like, nah, can't, nothing throws me off anymore, I think. I'm trying to think what shocked me the most, though. I think the idea of the cheat code, which I don't know if you all coined this or if it's just a term you guys like use a lot. And so I've heard that a lot.
We definitely use the term, the cheat code.
Using
Yeah,
our money to bypass all the other guys to get the
Yeah.
opportunity to go out with the girl.
Exactly. And I think that surprised me that like there was even a term for this, like this idea. And I was like, that kind of surprised me. But also the idea of, someone called it the time machine, that they could kind of like turn back time by dating babies and like really not have to think about their current lives. They can kind of just like turn their brains off and enjoy the moment with their sugar baby on a date or wherever traveling. And it just really surprised me that a way to look at sugar dating as a time machine.
Mm-hmm.
That surprised me the most, I think.
How many sugar daddies versus sugar babies do you think that you interviewed?
Ooh, I can pull that up actually, because I have it. I haven't like fully calculated it in a hot minute.
Well, and when you do these verbal interviews, they last like 1 to 2 hours, right? Generally?
Yeah, they've gone as long as 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
This is a huge
yeah.
investment of your time. How many of those interviews do you think you've done? You probably know that too.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 daddies.
Nice.
And then that would mean I had 37 interviews. So yeah, 17 babies, or
Okay.
actually 16 babies. I had one sugar mama, which is surprising to me. I'm surprised I got even one sugar mama.
Yeah, those are rare.
Yeah.
Could you
I was
ask
like-
her if she'll come on our show, please?
Right.
I'll reach out to her
Obviously,
again.
she's
Hey.
listening.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk to her. I actually just got, as of yesterday, my first proposition to be somebody's sugar mama.
Ooh.
And I don't know if it's fake or real, but I'm like, I am the baby. I am not the mama. But I would love to know how much success he's had
So,
being a male sugar baby.
was this a message on Seeking?
Uh-huh.
He reached out and said, would you be my sugar mama?"
Yes, he did.
Wow. That
And
was bold.
I
How
said,
old was he?
I will not be your sugar mama, but please let me interview you about what it's like to be a male sugar baby. And then he ghosted me.
How old was he? Or his
He was
profile
in
say?
his 30s, 31, I think.
Yeah, so he's pretty young.
Yeah.
Well, we met. We had a really great sugar daddy who was in his 30s at our party, but it's hard to be a sugar daddy in your 30s. It just takes time to accumulate wealth and the confidence and, and accomplish things by then. Now, some people move very quickly. Yeah, it's usually, 40 and above. So what was your average age, you think, of the sugar daddies that you were
I
interviewing?
calculated that right before this. I
See,
knew.
I was so excited to talk to you because I figure you would have some really good statistics for us.
Oh yeah, a few. So the average age of the sugar daddies is 50, which is pretty good. Like not.
Yeah, that's about expected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The babies though is the average age is 30.666. So like
Really?
31.
Now, 16, 17, that's kind of a small number, but you're starting to get a plus or minus 3% or so.
Yeah.
On that when you get into that range. A lot of people picture sugar babies as college age girls, young girls, and they think that the 40 and 50-year-old men want those.
Yeah.
And I think probably what you found is that's not really who they're looking for.
No, you're completely right. That is not what I found at all. First of all, the babies I've interviewed have ranged wildly in age. Like I think the youngest I had is 20, but then like the oldest is 53. So like they've ranged quite a bit.
Then I'm the oldest.
That would be Lily.
I must be the oldest one you interviewed.
Because she is 53. There you go.
Almost 54.
Yes.
We're getting
that's
there.
right. We're getting close.
Yeah, it's been interesting talking to the babies because it's just ranged completely across the board and just like every aspect in age, motivations, like just so many different ways. But the daddies, you're totally right. It's like most of the men I've talked to, they're like the lowest I'll go is like 25, maybe like 25, late 20s, 30s.
Now, what I find is, sure, they will entertain somebody that's younger than that, but it is purely physical and it's purely surface based. They aren't looking for an emotional connection with somebody that young.
Oh yeah, podcast fanboy when he was talking
Right.
about his European adventures, and one of the girls that he was intimate with on his trip was 20 or 21.
Yeah, 20, I think.
20.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, sir, that's such an age gap." And he's like, "Well, I wasn't going to marry her."
Yeah, he's 66. So he was just having a good time, having fun.
He is not 66.
No, you're right. He just had a birthday.
We just celebrated his birthday with him.
But when he was over there,
yeah.
he was 66.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Yeah. All right. So give us a little bit of your thoughts. And I know they're on the sugar daddies and the sugar babies. They kind of verbalized some of the things that they're looking for and what they enjoy out of it. As a whole, what did you get from the sugar daddies?
So as a whole, the daddies have been pretty consistent that like sugar dating really offers them an avenue to date women they want to date, typically younger women, gets their foot in the door with the cheat code, and date women that would typically be closed off to them in like traditional dating on Tinder, for example, where the odds are.
And I agree. The women that respond to me, I would never have a snowball's chance in hell on Tinder or Bumble or anything.
Exactly.
So.
And I've heard that consistently, like from most of the men I've talked to, is it's like on Tinder, this person probably has 1,000 messages from men. They don't have to respond to me. But like on Seeking, I have a better shot. And like these women are actually messaging me. That's kind of one of the main things I've found, but also like main positives that daddies have reported to me. Yeah. And so that's just one aspect, but also in what they're interested in, it kind of varies a little more, but like most of them are looking for the intimacy, the emotional intimacy, the connection and chemistry, right? With someone, not just a one night stand, right? They don't need sugar dating for that, but to find that emotional connection, to find someone to relate to, really. Yeah.
Did you compile any data about what maybe an average pay per meet or monthly allowance would be?
So I kind of didn't. I've been talking to a couple. I just had an interview yesterday, the other day, and we were talking about this because I was like, I haven't really been getting hard numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I was scared, a little bit scared. I didn't want to like get to, like, what's your salary? What city are you in? Because I thought that would be a little too close to identifying information. So I haven't asked strict numbers, but it also varies so wildly, right? Like kind of varies based on arrangements, like if they're doing an allowance versus a PPM, what part of the state they're in. I was talking to one sugar daddy in kind of a more rural location, and like the rates for him are way lower than it would be somewhere else entirely. So yeah, it was just kind of that discussion. And so I haven't compiled like strict numbers, but I do ask people like what they prefer, what they're looking for, if they're looking for arrangements, longer term, short term, if they do allowances, PPM, but I haven't gotten strict numbers on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you heard any stories, like just terrible, bad, awful stories that scared people away from sugar dating?
A few scam stories, but more on the baby side, which kind of surprised me as well, is like babies talking about experiences of being scammed by what they thought were daddies and turned out not to be. So that kind of was a little bit surprising for me, but also like beyond that, not too many like truly horrifying stories of anything. Maybe a few instances of like stalking and stuff like that, but
Yeah,
that was about the extent of it. Yeah.
I've experienced
Yeah,
that myself.
when I first started sugar dating, I was surprised at the amount of sugar babies who told me about the scams that were trying to be pulled on them, and that
Right.
some that were successful. And I'm thinking, why are these men going after the sugar babies? They don't have money, but some do have money, and they have credit cards and things like that have absolutely been ruined because they're kind of in a desperate situation, a lot of them, and they're a little bit more vulnerable.
Yeah.
I was going to say gullible, but it's just vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a pretty smart guy. I've been scammed, but the sugar babies, they get their hopes up about, oh my God, this guy's offering to pay this and this, and all I got to do is buy these things off Amazon. Then he's going to put me on his payroll, and it sounds so good. And they actually do pay them sometimes to get their trust. And they're like, oh yeah, I charged $2,000 on my card, and he paid me back. So this time when he charged $10,000, I didn't think anything about it, So, and then all of a sudden they're left holding the bag, and it's really tough.
Yep.
Anyway, so what is your overall conclusion of what sugar babies are? Now, I think this one's going to be a little bigger scale, a little wider scale.
Babies, I definitely want to talk to more babies because, like, I think I have 11, 12. I don't know. I think I have 16. But anyway, their experiences have been wildly different, like just in motivations or like goals out of sugar dating. Like some women do it for the money, like they maybe couldn't get a work visa, or they're on a student visa and they can't, work. So this is like their only source of income. Whereas some babies are looking for long-term relationships, looking for marriages, right? And so it kind of varies. And so I want to talk to more because I'm like, there hasn't really been too much of a consistency with the sugar babies as there has been with the daddies that I found. But yeah, so it's been a little bit more across the board. Some women very much in it for the emotional intimacy, long-term relationships. Others, it's really their only way to get money. So,
that's when I first jumped in, I discovered that too. I found out very quickly when I tried to set up a meet and greet with someone. They said, it'll be $500. You get an hour. Can we skip the dinner? And I was like, okay, that's not really what I was looking for. And then I talked to somebody else and they said, I'm not looking for anything financial. I just am looking for an older, successful man that I can eventually marry. Here I am 2 months into sugar dating, and I'm getting widely different things that girls are looking for, women are looking for. So I started figuring out, I've got to figure out what I want and then just start weeding out those that aren't looking for the same thing.
Exactly.
And that's been the process, and that women are looking for all kinds of, some people, they're not looking for a relationship. They just need help with their school finances or getting out of this problem that they have. And they enjoy the fine dinners and they enjoy the experiences and they enjoy dating an older man, but they're certainly not looking to marry them or have a relationship with them. So it works. And you know what? There's different flavors for all kinds of people looking, and you just, like Lily says, you got to kiss a lot of frogs to figure out
Yep.
who's going to be compatible.
Some of these men and women want to skip the frog kissing, and man, you just can't do it unless you're extremely lucky, like our friend Muscles. What was her other name? Ava or something?
Yeah, I don't remember.
She found her guy almost right away, and it's actually
Well, and she was
more of a traditional relationship.
yeah. So that episode,
Lana.
Lana. So that episode just came out a few weeks ago. But anyway, she was getting really frustrated with sugar dating because she wasn't able to match up with the person's with the same interest that she was looking for. And then all of a sudden, bam, she found somebody, and they are now throwing around the L word, and she's traveling across the world to see him. And it's a beautiful story.
Yeah, they're
It
very,
really
very
is.
happy.
Yeah, he's deleted his profile. She's deleted hers. And he's actually talking about moving to the U.S., and she's excited about that. So it's fun watching. It's fun watching people, because she was new to sugar dating this year. And it's fun watching them get in, experience the same frustrations that we did and do. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she's found her person. And she didn't even expect that. So,
Not at all. Nor was she actually looking for it.
right.
And it just hit her out of the blue. I think I found my blue-eyed Aussie.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't she say he had blue eyes?
I think so. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
good-looking guy. Seen some photos.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
are
it
you?
amazes me how much I'm like rooting for people. They tell me all of their like love stories, and I'm like, I'm just like fangirling over here, and I'm like, I'm a researcher, but I'm still like, oh well, have you considered this? Or like, oh my gosh, that's amazing for you, and just I'm
Do
very
you
excited.
listen to our podcast?
Yeah, not every single episode, but I do. I tune in.
Yeah.
Does that help you at all with your research or not really?
Honestly, it's more like enjoyment. Like I'm not like sitting here analyzing it like typical researchers do, like listening, pulling quotes and everything. So I just kind of listen to it for more enjoyment, like when I'm relaxing, getting ready.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more
Oh,
for fun.
some of our guests can be very entertaining.
Yeah. So, and we're going to keep you on because there's going to be more questions that we have as we talk about this. But one thing that I discovered a year and a half ago was how well sugar babies who don't know each other get along with each other.
Mhm.
And I discovered that when I had a 22-person party for my birthday a year and a half ago, and we had a nice suite for a concert, and I invited all these people that I knew that were in the sugar dating world, but they have never met. And I just wanted to see what would happen. I was really curious to see what
Just
would
like with your
happen.
popcorn and just watch.
Yeah.
Well, and the dynamic was such that there were only 2 sugar daddies there, right?
Yeah.
You and Kev.
Kevin, which he was a guest of Angie's. And so I had just met him that night. I didn't even invite him. Angie had just asked me if she could bring her friend Kevin, who she had met on the site and had some relations with.
And then a couple of your civilian friends.
Yeah, a couple of my buddies from the country club, yeah. I had a couple extra tickets, and so they brought their significant others.
And then all the rest were sugar babies.
Yeah. And we found that all of a sudden they felt like instant family, and they've become lifelong friends. And they've exchanged numbers. And now with social media, you can connect and not really lose track of somebody and keep in touch with them. So I kind of knew how this party was going to turn out in that sense, as we had 30 people come in, and this was every single person was in the sugar dating lifestyle. And it's so fun talking to the sugar daddies and the sugar babies who came, who didn't know anybody, and getting their thoughts and reactions of the party of how well they all got along. To me, it wasn't a surprise.
So our dynamic was 20 sugar babies and 10 sugar daddies.
Yeah.
And everybody just got along beautifully with everyone. It was really cool. We kind of knew that part was going to happen.
Yeah.
My chief concern was the logistics of making everything happen and scheduling everything and making sure nobody drank too much and ended up in the ER.
Which nobody did end up in the ER, but there were a few inebriated souls there, which we
there were
expected.
A lot of hangover nursing.
But for the most part, everybody was very civilized. Most people were in complete control the whole weekend. And I didn't see any cattiness.
No.
I saw a lot of exchanged numbers and exchanged social media
we have a big
information.
WhatsApp group chat now
Yeah.
that we all post in.
Right. And what they're telling me now is that they're going to plan visits to New York to visit some of the people that they met, and or Chicago or wherever, or to, Vegas, because we had people from all these different cities, and it's just an amazing connection that they made once they met each other in person, and it was almost instant. Like they didn't even really have to get to know each other.
Yeah.
They just felt like, this is my sister in the dating world.
Yeah, like a shared experience. So they already have that connection.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Yeah.
and you don't feel like you necessarily have to hide the fact, whereas a lot of us have a strong need for discretion and secrecy because we don't want to be judged. And so when you're in a group of people and you can let your guard down and there's going to be no judgment, and you can pick their brains about how to be more successful in the sugar world, it's really, really very uplifting and fun.
Well, as we discussed with our girl from London, I picked her up. Alejandra and I picked her up from the airport, and we brought her back to my house because she got there a few days early, and she was staying in one of my bedrooms. And she's talking to us. We're in the kitchen just kind of getting to know each other. And she's like, oh, my God, I got to tell you guys this, and I'm so glad I can talk to you about this. And then she opened up and told us the story and just felt completely comfortable to just open up, tell us everything about her dating life, her sugar dating, some of her men that, that she entertains. And it was just so refreshing because she doesn't have anybody that she can talk to. She certainly can't talk to family about it. And her friends, none of her friends are in the lifestyle. So it was very just freeing for her to be able to talk to us about it.
Now, what's her podcast name? Victoria, I think?
No.
Oh, I can't remember. But she's
Maybe it was.
quite the little exhibitionist.
Oh, yeah.
She belongs in a nude community. She has no qualms about just walking around in her birthday suit.
Some people are more comfortable than others.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if I had her body, I would walk around naked probably a lot more often myself.
So my sugar baby Alejandra, she got a little upset with me because, well,
we're calling her the London hottie.
Yeah, she was doing a photo shoot. We had one of our sugar daddies was a accomplished photographer, and he was doing these amazing photos of people outside, and they were doing a photo shoot, and the clothes were coming off. And how am I not supposed to watch? Now, first of all, I was a professional photographer.
Avert your eyes, sir.
At one time. So I'm actually watching this thing go down, admiring his posing abilities. And my sugar baby walks in, and she's not too happy that I'm partaking in the sight.
Why is your jaw on the floor, sir?
It was not on
Why
the
are you
floor.
drooling?
back in your head. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a little bit of a tense moment there. Yeah, I think it was just only on her part that she got a little upset that I was ogling the other girls. But there was so many beautiful girls there, and I didn't flirt with any of them. I didn't even...
That's a lie.
Oh, you think that's
You're
a
just
lie?
naturally flirtatious.
No, I was a good host.
Oh, that's what we're
I
calling
chatted
it.
with
We're
them.
calling it a good host.
Yeah.
Mm.
Made sure everybody felt at home and comfortable and their needs were met.
Meeting the needs of the sugar babies.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do you?
The Marcus effect.
Yeah. But Maria, from how we're describing how this party went and how everybody got along, is that a surprise to you, or would you expect that?
No, that doesn't surprise me really at all. Like again, the babies I've talked to have like varied wildly in experiences. So some have like support systems they can like talk to or reach out to someone to get advice and stuff like that. I think someone I talked to, I can't quite remember, talked about like having that support system and being able to like lean on other sugar babies they met and reach out and like get advice from them. So I think that doesn't surprise me too much. And I honestly love that you all have that support system.
Yeah.
I think needed. Yeah.
It is nice, especially I met a lot of local girls, and it was great because we could discuss, watch out for this guy.
Yeah.
You want to steer clear of this guy, or what do you think of this guy? Oh, well, I actually dated him and he was wonderful. So yeah, if you guys think you're going to have chemistry, give him a shot. So it's kind of nice that way too. I can't vouch for any of the out of towners, but the local girls, we knew quite a few people in common.
Yeah. Well, it can be a small community, even in a large town of, we have 5 million people in the Phoenix Metroplex area, but there was a guy that Lana went out with, and it was like the worst date of her life. And she told me the name, and I was like, Alejandra, didn't you go out with this guy? She's like, oh yeah, it was horrible. So, yeah. Hey, did you get any overseas sugar babies, or were they all domestic?
A couple overseas sugar babies. I think 2 in the UK. I'm trying to get one that's in the Netherlands currently. I'm trying to set up the interview with her. I think that's about it, though. Otherwise, I haven't really gotten too many overseas participants. Yeah.
So how much longer are you going to do this?
Until people don't want to be interviewed anymore. To be
Okay,
honest.
so there's no deadline for you. You don't have to publish anything. You're just collecting data.
Yeah. It's honestly been so much fun that I'm like, okay, I'm enjoying the conversations and, collecting data, going through it. I just need to, sit down and go through it, analyze it. The not so fun part of research, but the conversations is the fun part.
So if we were curious to read your dissertation, is it published somewhere where we could access it?
Yes. So it's, oh my gosh, I think Virginia Tech has some name for it, but yes, there's I don't know. I can send you all the link.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, it's available out there.
Will you do me another favor? Will you send me your questionnaire?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And the reason I'm having to ask for that is I have had a few gentlemen reach out to me on Seeking that are willing to be interviewed for our show, but they just want to fill out a questionnaire. They don't want their voice on here. They're either not confident or worried about discretion and anonymity. But I had a guy, I made up a questionnaire yesterday, like 20 questions out of my head, and he filled it out, and it's actually wonderful information that I will be sharing. But I thought, I went looking for your questionnaire, and it wouldn't let me access it because I had already done it.
Oh,
so it said, you can't fill this out again. And I didn't want to. I just wanted to steal your questions.
Yeah. The survey is a little more just do you want to sit down for an interview? So they're very what's your age? What's your sexuality? So they're pretty basic questions.
Yeah, it was only 10 or 12 questions as I remember.
It wasn't many.
Something like that.
It took me 2 minutes to fill it out.
Now, how many people actually...
I do it the full questionnaire, the interview questions if you want those.
Oh, yes. I would love that. Thank you.
How many people actually clicked on the link and filled out the quick online questionnaire?
I think right now, so it switched in between switching universities because, you have to get stuff approved between, institutions. So I don't quite remember how many were through Virginia Tech's, but I think the University of Arkansas link, the current one, is about 32 complete responses that have filled it out.
Yeah.
I do find it funny when people fill it out and it's okay, are you a sugar baby or sugar daddy? And they're like, no. And it kicks them out because I don't want to talk to you. But it's so random to me that they would go yes, this is a sugar dating survey. Let me go fill it out. So that cracks me up every time. But I have a couple of those, but otherwise about 30 that have filled it out.
People did the survey.
Yeah.
I would have thought it would have been more than that. But if they're getting kicked out, then it's kind of hard to tell, right?
Well, I mean, we do it for a few months. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think it's more just if people are interested in talking to the researcher, then they'd be willing to fill out the survey. But otherwise, if they're not, they don't have to. And that's kind of the point. So it's okay.
So when you presented your dissertation, what was the reaction?
It's always really interesting to tell people oh yeah, I do research on sugar dating. And so either it's a mix of what is that? What are you saying to me? Or people that are their eyes wide.
Yeah, I would think they would get really curious.
They do. They very much do.
Tell me more. I want to know more.
I
pretty much
had a professor from ASU reach out to me multiple times on Seeking.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The professor.
Did you tell me about this?
I just outed him.
Oh.
I accidentally, this is a weird story. This was early on in my first days of seeking. Somehow we had gotten to the point where we had each other's phone numbers, and I accidentally FaceTime called him one time when he was on campus. I don't think I ever told you about this.
No, this is a new story.
And he looks like this wild, mad scientist. He's got all this poofy white hair everywhere, and he was very animated, and he seemed very wild. I don't know what he's a professor of, but yeah.
Weird science.
He's very, very much a seeker. And I have to keep telling him, I'm in a relationship. I'm only on here doing podcast research. I cannot go on a date with you.
So this is recent.
Dr. The
This
professor.
is recent, then.
Yeah, he's reaching out to me again.
Wow.
With my okay, to be fair, I have a new profile
Yeah.
because I got completely off of Seeking when I went exclusive with Trucker. And then I was like, I have nothing to talk about on the podcast. And when these sugar daddies who are reaching out that wanted to sponsor our party are telling me like who they are and what they're about, I was like, I need to kind of go vet them and look at their profiles on Seeking and kind of get an idea of what they're all about. And so I checked with Trucker. I'm like, would it bother you if I made a profile strictly for research purposes that says this is why I'm on here? Because I found my person on here, but I want to hear other people's stories about what kind of success they're having in the sugar bowl. And he's like, yeah, go for it. It's part of your job. Just
Yeah, it's your job.
go right ahead.
It's your job to be on Seeking.
I mean, it is kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a little distracted there. So what was the reaction with people?
Honestly, especially with a dissertation, you have a group of academics. So they're all like, oh, what if you try, like, did you ask about this? Or like, they're very much in research mode. And so they're like, oh, like, have you considered this? And so they get excited in a very academic way where they're just like offering suggestions, asking clarifying questions about all sorts of like terminology and specifications, like, oh, like, what did this interviewee say? And like, what does that mean for the broader, research question? Like very academic, scholarly questions. But the everyday person that I like run into, on campus or at a brewery or something, they're just like, oh, wow, that's so cool. And like, how do you have fun stories? And I'm like,
All right.
not that I'm going to share with you, but
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a professor there now, right?
Yeah. So I finished the PhD. I'm now an assistant professor at the University of Arkansas.
And what kind of classes do you teach?
So I teach, ironically, social research. So I tell my students, shout out to them if they're listening, that I like do research on sugar dating, and their faces are always like, they're not listening, right? And then they're like, double take, they hear me say sugar dating and they're like, what? Fun story. One of my students kept hearing me say sugar dating, and he was like, I thought you were talking about like carbon dating, like sugar,
right. Yeah.
glucose, sugar dating. And I was like, no, sir, not in sociology.
Sugar dating. You just always go for dessert.
Right.
Which, I mean, ironically, some of the sugar daddies are just going for dessert.
Yeah. Well, that can be any daddy or anybody.
That could be the babies too.
So, Maria, do you feel like sugar dating is becoming more accepted socially, or are you still getting a lot of, I would never?
Maybe not like I would never. People are very interested, but I don't know if they would participate themselves. Like they're very like curious about it, but I don't know if they would participate. But I'm not getting like clutching pearls kind of reactions. But maybe that's just the type of people I hang out with. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not too much judgment, or none that I can think.
Are you in a relationship, or are you married, or?
I have a long-term partner. We've been dating, 7 years.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
And what does your partner think about your research?
I think he finds it entertaining, but I think he's definitely tired of me telling strangers like, this is my research, because then he knows that I'm going to have my spiel. I'm going to talk about it for extended period of time. And he's like, I've heard this before. But I think he finds it interesting. He's not an academic, he's an engineer. So he's just very different field than I am.
Mhm.
What's the age gap?
No gap.
No
actually.
gap. There
We
you
went
go.
to school together, actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A while back.
All right. Anything else for her, Lily?
I don't know. I just appreciate that you're doing this kind of research. I think it's good. I think it will help alleviate a lot of the stigma that people face when they want to participate in the lifestyle. And
Well, I know a lot of people had told me, they'll message me and they'll say, yeah, I just talked to Maria. I had a great interview. It was very enjoyable. It was easy, smooth. They go, basically, she just let me do all the talking and she's just taking
That's
notes
what we
over
do.
there.
Yep. That's
like-
what I do.
So how did you structure some of the questions where they opened up? Because it's sometimes people just give like 1 word or 2 word answers, and it can be difficult getting that information out of them. How
Yeah.
would you structure some of the questions to get them to
Ooh, yeah.
reveal
That's
their
definitely,
secrets?
definitely an art, to like come up with good questions. And I've gone through so many, and like I have just a spreadsheet of questions, honestly, that like touch on different themes, but also like variations of each question. It's just so funny talking about this because I'm teaching my students how to do all of these things, like doing interviews and how to write questions. And so like I'm telling them all the same things, but like just kind of I always start with the very basic, like, how did you get started? And that usually just gets the ball rolling. And sometimes I'll come up with like more clarifying questions about like their journeys. But yeah, that honestly gets the ball rolling. People open up right off the bat just from that question.
well, I find that a lot of people in the lifestyle are very open as long
Yes.
as they know there's anonymity. Most of our guests, as long as they know for sure that we're not going to out them in some way, and some of our guests do not care. They are like, say my name. Maybe my person's out there listening.
Yeah.
Maybe my sugar daddy is out there and he's going to fall in love with my voice and my stories. Anybody come to mind when I say that?
Yeah, there's a few people.
Little Miss Blondie.
Mhm.
What was her name? Kylie.
Oh, yes.
Kylie.
Yeah.
She's like, say my real name. Let people ask about me. The
them.
bombshell. Kylie the bombshell.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, that's honestly been one of my main concerns. Like going into the research, like trying to protect people's confidentiality and anonymity. Because some of these people, like, I don't know even their first names. Like, I'm just like flying blind. Like, otherwise, I'm protecting all of the information I'm getting. There's certain standards for research to like protocols to take, but doing all those, but also like typically people record interviews to transcribe them, have like, everything recorded on like a hard copy. I'm not doing that because again, I want to make sure everybody feels comfortable talking to me, opening up, talking about something that's stigmatized, right? And
Yeah,
so
it's
I really
taboo
try-
in a lot of circles. It really is.
Exactly. And so trying my best to make sure people feel comfortable. Yeah, for sure.
So out of all the subjects you could have researched, are you happy you chose this one?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's been the most fun doing research and I love talking about it, but also just like doing the interviews. I'm always like, oh, I know this is going to take like maybe an hour or 2 out of my time, but like it's so fun. And I greatly appreciate when people do take hours out of their time to talk to me when they don't have to. But it's been the most fun research I've done. I'm usually doing surveys, like there's a lot of distance between myself and like what I'm researching. I'm doing a survey and I don't talk to people, but doing the sugar dating interviews have been so much fun just to like be one-on-one with people. It's been great. Yeah.
Well, very good. So this episode will come out closer to Christmas, maybe maybe a little after. Do you still want them to contact you?
Oh yeah, please
Okay,
do. You
we'll
can
give 'em-
email me or do the link on the website as well.
Yeah.
But the email is Scaptura, Scaptura. It's a fun last name at University of Arkansas or uark.edu. .edu.
Right.
If that's easier for people.
Yeah, we'll leave the links up on our website, and we have a link there called Survey, and if you just fill that out, that'll go right to her. It'll go right to her page. It's working, right? People, I mean, people. I never know if these links are working, but I think they are, right?
Yeah, I think I'm still scheduling a few last minute interviews that I've kind of like still working through all the people that have filled out the survey, but I think at this point I'm almost caught up.
Yeah.
Now, is there any type of sugar person in particular that you'd really like more data on? Like, have you interviewed any trans sugar babies or trans sugar daddies?
No, I haven't at all, actually. I in general kind of want more sugar babies because I think I have about 16 of them. So like, especially because their experiences have varied wildly, that I would like more babies in general. But yeah, trans babies, trans daddies would be very interesting.
And maybe more international.
Yeah, if they're wanting to talk to me, that'd be great. I'm kind of focusing on the US primarily, but like having those outside perspectives is really interesting to see the difference between the US and other countries in particular. It's been kind of interesting talking to people that are international, how different it is.
Yeah, I know you only have a couple, so I could get into what's the differences, but I mean, your data that you're selecting from is just not enough to form a solid opinion of what's different. But I know, just talking to our girl from London who was at the party, matter of fact, in the episode she described the differences between the UK daddies and the American ones. So,
and she tends to prefer American daddies.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't prefer her barrister.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to talk about the barrister?
No, we'll leave that one for another episode.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Well, Maria, we really appreciate you coming on with us. We've all been very interested to know what you're actually doing, and it's kind of what I thought it was, and the information, we're very curious to find out your conclusions.
Yes, send us the links to your dissertation and your interview questions. That'd be lovely.
A lot of this isn't surprising me now, but in the beginning, it definitely would have. And I just think, the more knowledge we have over this subject, better for everybody, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you for your hard work.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. If you want to share your crazy sugar dating stories, go to our website, secretsofasugardaddy.com, and you can message us also on Instagram. I am getting your messages there. Lily and I both read those.
Yes, sir.
And they come to us instantly.
There's some good ones.
There are some good ones, and I keep meaning to get to those. I'm going to have to do an extra sugar or maybe an entire episode of just letters. They're starting to pile up, and there's just so many good ones. I don't even have time to get to them, but keep sending them because we will, and we enjoy reading them. So I think that's about it.
I think that's it.
All right. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to connect or even be on the show, we'd love to hear from you at secretsofasugardaddy.com.